Hey friends, Carl here again with another Calm Survival. And today we're still continuing on with our series on flashlights, and we're talking about flashlight features. Now to start, I'm going to use these two flashlights because they are as close to identical as I possibly can get. They're both Phoenix EO5 flashlights, just two different versions. Now, the first version has a diffusing sort of lens, okay, and it just has one setting. The other one has a more spotlight sort of lens, but has three brightness settings. Now, out of the two of them, everything being equal, obviously this guy is going to be a little bit more expensive. So when we're talking about the features that we want in a flashlight, it's important to not just think about the brightness or blinky modes or anything else like that. We need to take the whole package in mind and think about where have all the dollars gone in this thing that I'm buying. So for example, if I have a flashlight, let's say get a normal camping flashlight that has, it's got a red light, it's got a nice little tap sensor on the side so you can adjust the brightness between two brightnesses. Super easy. It's a pretty slick little system. It's got a flood and a spotlight mode. It's got adjustable settings, but it's got a plastic case that's kind of hard to open, and it's not super waterproof. Well, I can get the flashlight that has almost all of those same features and is also waterproof and has a much more durable case. It's also going to be more expensive and probably heavier. So when we talk about our goal, remember that part of our goal is always going to be how long is it going to last and how bright is it going to be while it's doing that. When we're talking about features, what compromises are we willing to make? Okay. I've got two little lanterns, okay, AAA version and a AA version. Around the kitchen, they're both super handy. They're definitely not going to do the job of a headlamp. If you recall back, if you watched the knife videos, you would have noticed that I do own a couple. But ultimately, if you told me you get to leave the house one knife right now, I could probably do that, and I'd probably get by just fine. However, when it comes to things like flashlights and our lighting solution, just one probably isn't going to cut it. For one thing, it's, in a blackout, it's nice to be able to have lights in more than one room. There's probably more than one person around at your house. So depending on what you're doing, everybody may need their own light. If you have kids, it can give them a big sense of comfort to have a light that's handy for them. So when you take that all into consideration, you're going to have a bunch of similar goals, but they're not all going to be the same goals. And if we try to ask one thing to do everything, we're going to start getting really frustrated by the fact that it really stops doing any of them very well at all. Now, in the longer sense, when we also talk about features, we are talking about some of the little details. And a well-built flashlight is just going to have more of those little things, kind of a little more thought out than if we just go with the super cheapest option. Because with anything, there's a difference between cheap and inexpensive. This is not an expensive flashlight, okay? It's got only two modes. It runs on two AA's. It's really quite robust. Sure, it's not the brightest flashlight in its category, but it, runs a good long time. And if that's all you actually need, well, then you can just spend that smaller amount of money rather than going and buying, this big monster that you don't need its capabilities. It's really only useful once in a while, and it's expensive. This one I bought as part of a kit, for helping do simulated search and rescues, and the necessity of having a really powerful flashlight. That's really all it's good for. I mean, it's great if I'm on a camping trip and I want to spot, small animals in the tops of really tall trees, but it's a pretty niche use case, not something that most people are going to come across. So by being honest about what features we actually want and what our goals are, that's going to help us be efficient, because, as I said, you're going to be buying multiple flashlights in all likelihood, and all of this kind of keeps happening over and over again as you set the whole collection up. Now, if you're wondering about things like colored lights or blinky modes or anything like that, the reality is, if you're not sure if you need it, the answer is you probably don't. In fact, you almost certainly don't. The red light on a lot of hiking headlamps, it's good for making your way out of the tent and, hopefully not waking up too many people. But it's not good for reading by. It's, not great for any kind of map reading where you have to deal with color. So the reality is it's got a pretty limited use. And if I had a choice between having another feature like, say, better waterproofness and not having the red light, I might take the waterproofness. Or if it's, some durability, those are all, parts of the equation. So hopefully that gives you a bit of a better idea on what is kind of out there and available. There's, dozens of features, and all of the time there's more and more flashlights being released. So again, if you're looking for specialty stuff, talk to the people that are doing that specialty thing. If you're not looking for specialty stuff, make sure you're not getting suckered into somebody's marketing, because you probably don't need it. All right. I've been Carl. This has been another Calm Survival, and I hope to see you guys soon.